right. Thank you all for having us. Before we kick things off, I wanted to poll the room, and Donald kind of set us up as well. You know, who's just sick of hearing about cookies going away? Yeah? Yeah. It's a decent amount, and, you know, I think it's warranted. I think it's okay to be jaded. This has kind of been a long time coming, but I also wanted to ask a follow-up question to that, is who actually thinks they're going to go away at the end of this year? All right, we got a couple people. I think similarly, it's natural to be concerned with that as well, given the fact that it's been punted a couple times, right? And for those keeping track at home, in January, 1% of cookies went away, third-party cookies through Google Chrome, about 30 million users worldwide. And by the end of this year, they plan on phasing out 100% of third-party cookies. So third-party cookies definitely have been useful, and they definitely have their merits, but they also kind of have their downside as well. So on the beneficial use case side, right, they've helped us with targeting. They've helped us get in front of those travel intenders, those foodies, those outdoor folks. But they've also helped us with attribution when it comes to understanding who's been exposed to our ads and who actually went through and converted. And on that same vein, frequency, right? We don't want to be flooding a certain user or audience with our particular message, so it's helped out in that capacity as well. But it's also has its shortcomings when it comes to, you know, invasion of privacy, as well as the way it goes about getting that consent, or the lack thereof. So it really creates an opportunity for marketers to, you know, whether or not it happens sooner than later, it's a valuable time to better understand your usage of third-party cookies within your own site, how you use them in your advertising, and then explore different opportunities when it comes to your first-party data collection, and how you could fuel that with really, really good content. And that's why I'm excited to talk to this panel. I will caveat, similar to the AI conversation, we have some knowledge base in this. We're not experts. This is changing very quickly. We're really right in the middle of it with, again, the January and the plan to roll it out by the end of the year. So we have a lot of unique learnings. Each of these different destinations have implemented different things, but we're excited to bring some takeaways from that. And before we kicked it off, we did have a survey, if we're able to put that up there. And the survey was basically asking, if you're able to do that on your app or through the screen there, on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being, you know, we are not prepared at all, we're not even sure how we use cookies, 5 being, let's get rid of cookies tomorrow, and 3 being, hey, we're kind of testing, we're adopting new things, we have a lot of learnings coming out of that. How do you feel like you're ready for third-party cookies going away? And as this data starts to come in and continues to come in, I wanted to kick it to our panel, and I guess I'll start with Mr. Oreo Man down there, and see, 1, if you're a double stuff, a thin mint, or a regular Oreo, but then 2, how you'd rank yourself on that scale.
Sure. We're not worried about cookies going away in Richmond, Virginia, because we're the largest producer on the East Coast of Oreos. So over 10,000 Oreos per minute are being produced in Richmond, Virginia. So we brought Oreos for everyone. So yeah, if sugar's not your deal, we also produce a lot of wheat thins down there. So, but I think 2 weeks ago I graded myself a 2. After talking to my staff over the last couple of weeks, I'm a 1.5 now. So no, actually about a 3. So
we'll round it up to 2. And then Mike is with Odney, the agency record for North Dakota here. They have a long-standing relationship. A lot of the questions today, too, we're going to kind of see how they both address it from the different sides. But wanted to kick it to you and Tricia as well to see how y'all feel about the cookie going away.
I guess from my standpoint, I feel like we're at a 4. We're not full steam ahead yet because we still have work to do, but we know what we have to do to get there. The one thing about working with North Dakota Tourism is working with Tricia, they do have a large amount of first-party data that we have at our disposal to work with, and she's done a great job collecting that for us, and that also makes me feel good about what we have going on with our marketing with tourism. But I'll let Tricia kind of talk about a little bit about what she's been doing on that side.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Tricia Miller and I'm a digital systems manager at North Dakota Tourism, and we've been working with Odney and Mike Pierce for many years. I actually know Mike from high school days, crazy. But yeah, we've been gathering data since 2008, and little did we know that, 16 years later, that first-party data would be coming in quite handy. So we're moving full speed ahead on that avenue. So I'm going to give us a 4.
All right, solid. And Karinna?
Well, hi, I'm Karinna Sostre, the web content manager for Discover Puerto Rico. I would say that at Discover Puerto Rico, we're at a 3.5. Gathering first-party data has been part of our strategy, our content strategy, specifically our newsletter program, since we launched in 2018. So I wouldn't say we're at a 4 like Trish and Mike, but at least a 3, 3.5.
All right, so we got a nice range here. And, you know, a lot of stuff similar to what they were saying with AI, with cookies going away, has a negative connotation to it. It's under scrutiny currently with the privacy and everything going on there. But I did want to see, with this phase out, you know, Tom, what's something that excites you about the future and as that transition happens?
Yeah, I think we're all marketers, of course, and we're all into creating and being innovative. This is really going to push us even so much farther in those areas. I made a joke about it only being a 3. We are 3. And I would strongly encourage everybody in this room, if you haven't done it, get a written document strategy on what you're going to do to navigate this cookieless world and how you're going to communicate it to your stakeholders. I will tell you, we don't have one yet, but we've been working on it piecemeal, putting it together. But I think it's just, as a VP of marketing, is giving my staff another opportunity to learn and create and come up with really good ideas. And we're not to that point yet, but we're really thinking this through on how we can get by for a while with really good first-party data and working with our vendors on helping us to navigate this environment and to be able to target and retarget.
Definitely, yeah, and I think it's a huge opportunity to get back to your core consumers and really drive a better understanding of who they are, where they're engaging, and what opportunities there are to create some personalization there. One thing on your end, Karinna, that with the newsletter that you had mentioned, that's relatively new. You said it started in 2018 and has had some explosive growth in terms of driving organic subscriptions or subscribers. I'd love to hear more about how y'all have had so much success, what do you think has driven it, and any learnings that you all have had along the way.
Absolutely. Our DMO started in 2017, 2018, and since we launched our website along with our email marketing program, we really believe that content is king as marketers, but if content is king, audience listening is queen, and it drives the force behind the content. So since launch, we really honed in and made it a pivotal strategy to listen to what our audience wanted to hear about our destination and our beautiful island of Puerto Rico. And we ingrained an interest section so people could select if they were interested in beaches, outdoors, luxury, like what type of travel, so we could potentially leverage that later to not only sitemap our website, but develop a content plan and a content strategy to answer those queries. So that was very pivotal at the beginning of our email marketing program.
That's awesome. And you had mentioned, too, that initially that was fueled predominantly fully by organic growth. Is that right?
Yes, we had great success organically from 2018 through 2022. Up until year today, we've had, I'm sorry, Tom, I have to say it. I know you threatened to take my Oreos away, but we've garnered about nearly 140K subscribers, and most of them have been organic. We launched a lead generation campaign in 2022 with Meta, which garnered around 40,000 subscribers. But yeah, it was mostly organic. Audience listening, content is king, but we have to pay attention to where people are clicking, how long they're staying on the site. Through our email marketing, like the people that get to our website from the e-newsletters stay double the time than the people that visit organically our website. So it's really mixing that with our KPIs from our website, what content is performing well, and meshing those together, and audience listening. Again, content is king, but audience listening is always going to be the queen.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
You know how annoying it is when your boss comes back from a conference with all these great ideas and he or she wants you to jump on that right away? Even before I came here, my team was annoyed with me because I took back to them that Puerto Rico had over 130,000 subscribers, and what's our number? And even when we, yeah, great job. Even when we added in the subscribers, the Richmond Times Dispatch, we still didn't get the 130,000. But it was something that's inspiring them and pushing them already. So great job.
Please don't take my Oreos away.
No.
And you had mentioned that was through Meta, through the lead gen aspect that really helped fuel that. But a lot of times, too, when you're focusing on lead gen, that is contingent on third-party cookies, right? Again, getting in front of those travel planners, getting in front of the different audiences you're looking to reach. Mike and Tricia, I was curious, as the cookie fades out, have y'all started factoring in any contextual targeting or modeled audiences or different ways to get in front of those same users?
We've actually been working with contextual audiences probably the last 3 years, and we're trying it in different tactics, things like that. We are having good luck with it, and lately we've also been expanding it across connected television, OTT, some of those premium formats as well. But what we've seen, and kind of like you mentioned, content is king no matter how you do it. So as long as your content is good and you have the right content for the audience that you need to motivate, contextual targeting will work. You can also look at it as magnet targeting. That's another thing, where you can look at the audience and say, this is the exact content that will motivate them, or you put out the content that you think will motivate a really niche, hard-to-find audience, and you bring them to that content, and then hopefully bring them into your first-party e-newsletter, and then you have their first-party data to then target back on other media.
And we sync up too with our content calendar every month. And those syncs between our website, our online advertising, as well as our e-news that we put out monthly. So, and working across other platforms within our commerce department for the state.
Gotcha. And has there been any other, I know you mentioned the newsletter, you just mentioned e-news, things that you've seen a lot of success with when it comes to really driving your first-party audience growth, whether that be quizzes on the site, the newsletter, the travel guide. Are there other signals that you've seen success with across your own organization site?
Yep. We've implemented a lot of QR codes and stuff through our online travel guide. We still produce actual hard copy travel guide and send those out. But that is a lot of that first-party data that I'm able to capture for Odney to use in those areas. And you mentioned too, Karinna, about the niche interests of people and those visitors. And we've been collecting that data for many years of what their interests are when they want to come visit our state. So we have all that information too, years of data of that. But yeah, we just cross-pollinate, I guess, across all of the different avenues of our office.
Yep. And one of the things that was mentioned earlier about giveaways always working, they also work in this first-party case too. We've been doing activation events in Phoenix, Denver, some other cities, and people are willing to give up their first-party data to win something. So that's just old school marketing that still works.
I'm sorry, Tricia, I was about to jump on that because we do a lot of activations that gather information, and the way we do it, even if it's through social media, through a vendor, the information, the web form, it's on our site. So we are gathering that information firstly from the consumers that are opting in because they want to win something. So giveaways are key at Discover Puerto Rico, and activations as well.
We just did a really fun, like Mike mentioned, at the Waste Management Open. We gave away a golfing trip for 2 to North Dakota, and they get to come and it's all expenses paid, airfare. For 3 golf courses, they get vouchers for eating out in restaurants and hotels and all of that. And Josh Jamel was our spokesperson, and we created a really fun video with him experiencing that. So, and that was they had to actually use a QR code to get there, and then I got their information from that.
And
through our
yeah, the
website.
QR code was actually on the table where you had to attend, so we knew exactly where it was coming from.
That's great. That's awesome to hear about that growth. Also, you know, outside of digital, being able to fuel that. I know it's tied to digital, but being able to garner that in different places as well. It's kind of tying back audiences to content and knowing which direction to go. Tom, I know that your team has some microsites that live within the Richmond that I was able to see with the Black RBA and the Out RBA. Knowing that more and more DMOs are rightfully prioritizing social inclusion and DEI, how has that helped your team, one, build trust with that community, but also better understand internally, you know, what content is important and what's really driving that visitation to Richmond?
Sure, thanks for that question, and I can brag about this because I had absolutely nothing to do with it. When I arrived 2.5 years ago to Richmond, it was already set up. Out RVA was set up 12 years ago, and Black RVA 5 years ago. Just to give you a little background, they're both community-inspired initiatives that are run by our Black community and our LGBTQ plus community. They have their own website, they have their own social media, they do their own campaigns. What we do, we provide a staff liaison, we fund it, and we push out their campaigns with our paid media. But if you're looking, we're talking about a lot about first-party data, and that content will drive that. This is the most inspiring, authentic content we can think of because it's driven by our community leaders. They have their own committees that oversees it, but they're driving a lot of traffic. Initially, it was just to raise awareness of our small businesses, but it expanded into so much more. They have more opt-in percentages than we do on our own websites. We're always tempted, like, why don't we drive them back to our website? That's where we have our hotel information. We have hotel information on that site too, and we fought against it. I'm so glad we did because they're going to those sites because they're looking for authentic content with the right tone, and it's really just been a huge success. Again, not on our part, but thanks to our community leaders. They rotate off their boards. They're very open to discuss things, but they let it be known when we come into those meetings. They're going to make the decisions, and I love that because I couldn't suggest anything better than what they're suggesting. We're just there to offer them support, but that type of content, that authentic content with the right tone is what we're all after, and now we're building out a Black Travelers campaign to push forward their messaging and their content, but with our money behind it. So stay tuned. We're just starting that next week.
That's awesome, and kudos to y'all too for the control in terms of, you know, surrendering, I guess, the control. I feel like authenticity is something we hear about throughout all these conferences. It comes up time and time again, and it sounds like y'all have been able to really garner that through that partnership there. And something you had mentioned too was the opt-in component. So as you know, targeting is going to be changing, the data landscape is changing. Have you thought about the opt-in aspect when it comes to your advertising or your paid media, where these audience can self-select through the content itself, whether that be the headlines, the imagery, the videos, the long-form articles, whatever it may be?
Yeah, we're definitely, I'm sure we're all discussing it the same way, how we can improve upon that. First of all, I had to go back with my team, make sure we were GDRP compliant, and we found out on some of our sites we weren't totally, so we had to fix that. But yeah, we understand that it's all consent marketing now, that we need that opt-in. So we're just trying to figure out ways how we can encourage more of that. They're opting in, but even on the black RVA, at RVA, they're not asking, they're feel free with us using their information, although we're anonymizing it, just to protect them, but they don't seem to care because they know it's going to their, their community leaders, so.
Yeah, and it's definitely an interesting kind of chicken and egg scenario in terms of, people engaging with your content, or does the targeting dictate who's engaging with your content? Karinna, I know you mentioned with the newsletter you have, and I'm a subscriber as well, so when I went to go fill that out too, it prompts those questions that you talked about. So that really has helped your team, I'm sure, really hyper-personalize content to those audiences, and as you mentioned, really drive that deep engagement as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Listening and paying attention to what people are opting in and choosing drives not only the way that we can reach our audiences, but also how we can enhance and optimize our existing content through not only our newsletter program, but through contextual networking with other partners. We've been able to leverage on responses through AI. So we listen to that as well, what people are asking, not necessarily about our destination, but about travel in general. So we're able to fill in those buckets and give them the content that they want and give them the responses to the queries that they're looking for in Discover Puerto Rico.
That's great. And through getting to work with both of your teams on North Dakota and with Odney, one thing that has been interesting is under kind of the North Dakota umbrella, you focus on tourism naturally, but then there's also the workforce component. And something more recently has been, talking about how, and if you think about it as a traveler or anybody who's ever moved, right, you're going to want to scope out an area before you move there. You're not going to just blindly go somewhere because somebody gave it a nod of approval. So have y'all found any synergy within those two audiences and being able to use them maybe from tourism to workforce?
Yeah, I guess this has really been evolving over the last couple of years for us as we're trying to increase the tourism numbers, but we also, like a lot of states, have a shortage of workers, so we need to, invite people in to move to North Dakota. And what we've been doing is, and I know I've talked to Tucker on this before as well, but you start to look at signals of intent to travel, but there's also other signals you can get from your data, whether it's engagement based on certain content in your tourism-related marketing. But what are those signals that can, almost be applied to the other side where they were so engaged with that content, maybe they should be served, messaging to move to North Dakota. So we've been doing that. The other things we've been doing is breaking it down by really finite personas, young families with kids, things like this. So that way we can look at the media channels that young moms consume, and then put the right content in the right context. Because when you're doing a workforce or a tourism, you can't be shotgun blasting messages out there. Nobody can afford that. Well, a state like North Dakota, it's even harder to, how do you pinpoint people in California who might want to move to North Dakota? It's pretty much impossible on any North Dakota budget. So that's where we really have to dig into our audiences, look at what they consume, and content's king. Your content has to match your persona. But then what we also do is cross-pollinate it with other messaging, like email marketing, things like this. But we are getting signups from both sides of this, and tourism, and I should say Tricia wears multiple hats, but she then takes a look at that pipeline and looks at the data that comes from there.
We do. When they come through the pipeline it's our campaign is Find the Good Life in North Dakota, and basically targeting those people that want to move here, but we also know that they want to come and see the state before they make that decision of coming. So we remarket them on a monthly basis of new people that come through the pipeline. On the tourism side of things too, we remarket them. And then we also we change it out seasonally. and then that continues to go to the pass list, you know, so it's like a drip campaign that we run. And then we target those people that come, and they will sign up to be part of our e-news program, or they'll request a travel guide, or, you know, whatever it might be.
Yeah, and interestingly too, workforce is one aspect of it, but I know Tom and Karinna, y'all both have meetings, right? You have these big, beautiful spaces. That's obviously a driver for y'all. Have y'all thought about in a similar capacity, or have anything roadmapped in terms of being able to take some of those meeting audiences who similarly want to see a place probably before they go there, to be able to use across meetings and getting in front of those meeting planners?
Tom, you want to go first?
You go, and I'll steal your answer. That's what we're here for, share, right?
Well, on the meetings front, I hate to keep repeating myself, but we're also working on a newsletter program to send out our content to those first-party data that our sales reps and our group marketing team are out there reaching. They're having their one-on-one meetings, they're gathering their information, we're pulling it back to our CRM, and we're serving them content because we want them to distribute our content to their events, to their planners, and to their people, basically. So we're honing in on a new newsletter program as well. Another example that we have about first-party data gathering for those group is we're at conventions like this one's, like at Connect. You can go through our booth, you can scan our QR code. We all love a QR code, and we'll have that information. We'll trade you some, give you some value. You'll have some coffee, you'll meet with us. And that's another way we're leveraging on gathering that information on that segment. We're building out content for specific groups. We have sports content, wedding planners, cruise planners, etc. So we're really honing in on building out that content aside from our leisure segment. But we're out there, our team is out there gathering that data, bringing it back to us so we can continue to serve content. Again, I will always say this. It has become a buzz thing, but content is king. Audience listening is the queen.
We have a journalism background, and y'all's content's very good, so I could see why you want to lean on it.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say also, but let me ask you, how many salespeople are here today? Okay, how many marketing people? That's great. I've heard for years that sales and marketing don't get along, where I can say that's not true. When I was in Pittsburgh, we had a great sales organization there, but especially in Richmond. They call us big marketing, and they call themselves little marketing. I'm not sure about that, but we actually have a marketing person within their organization. But what I'm getting at, it is such great communication and such great synergy that we're using the same content. They're using our campaign and running our campaign, Richmond Region Speaks for Itself, and running with that. So we're sharing content. We're challenging each other on our email campaigns just to see who could get better response on that. But if everybody's working together, we're going to really nail this first-party data collection because we're using the same techniques and tools and just challenging each other to do different things with it. So yeah, if you need any help on getting along with your sales or marketing team, I got 5 ways. So that'll be another presentation.
That'd be a great follow-up session. You could just lead that.
One is to share an incentive goal. That's a good way to to work closely together. So.
And one thing that I've been, again, as quickly as this is changing, reading more and more about is how, some organizations are leaning more into the walled gardens, whether that be social, Google's rich data there. But others are saying, hey, we want to take back control of this. We really want to build out our first-party data. We're going to invest heavily in ours. And then some people are probably split, and there's varying degrees. So I kind of wanted to go down the line and see, in terms of your shift, has it remained the same? Do you have different priorities moving forward as cookies are getting phased out?
Want me to start? Okay. I'll start. Yeah, like I said earlier, we've been, gathering that first-party data for years now, and we were one of the first ones within our state agencies of the state government part to utilize Microsoft CRM, which now it's D365 that we really are embracing and utilizing that and using that again on our remarketing efforts too. But yeah, I guess I would share with Mike if he wants to add any more to that. But like I said, we've been gathering data, so we're going to continue to do that.
And I think, based on the data you're talking about, we are increasing our spends in those walled gardens, but it's not necessarily based on like just putting budget there or pulling budget out. We do everything based on research. So if we look at more consumption happening on Meta or within Google's vast array of what they've got going, that's how we first look at our budgets. But the other thing we're looking at is with GA4, which I hate, and probably everybody in this room probably does not like very much, but they have some great audience building tools that you can, like let's say they're reading sales and meeting planner content, you can trigger that as an audience within your GA4 and push that over to your Google platform to market. And it's, again, they play well together, and it's all, privacy, everything's above the board. But we've been doing a lot of that lately, which means, yes, we do put more budget towards it, but attribution with GA4 is tough, but audience segmenting and creation, we've had great luck with. And again, budgets continue to rise in there because people do use YouTube and all these other, YouTube consumption is gonna continue to explode, especially with the short form video that they're doing. But build that audience in GA4, send it over there, and then look at what budget you can take. Like I said, we don't allocate it just because. We looked at how much consumption within our target audience is happening.
Oh, my answer is short and sweet because I hate to echo on what North Dakota is doing, but it's precisely that. To that, I would just add that we as advertisers, we're going where we get our best results for our money. So we continue to monitor and to look for the same way. So I don't want to repeat North Dakota's answer, but yeah, we're going where we get the best results.
Yeah, and I would just say is that my biggest fear when we're collecting all this first-party data, once we collect it, what do we do with it? How do we clean it? How do we push it out? We're still going to need our vendors. We work with 3 or 4 digital marketing platforms, and they don't seem overly concerned right now that cookies are going away. In fact, one of our vendors is building profiles on qualified travel intenders, and they're storing those profiles, and they have, I said a couple million when we first met, a couple 100,000 of those that they're going to be able to segment and use for their clients' campaigns. They recognize that data will get outdated at time, down the road, but for now, they feel very confident that we can continue doing our same type of targeting and retargeting that we have been doing, but they're also saying, Tom, don't forget your first-party data because we can come in and create look-alike audiences off of that and build off that. So while you're doing that, we're going to continue to serve up your ads this way too. So I don't think they're the only vendor, but it's sort of like I hadn't heard from them for a while, but just trust that your vendors have been thinking about this for a long time. So.
To add on that, with cookies going away and first-party data gathering becoming more and more difficult because we need to enhance our content and we need to give consumers something for they to opt in, we also rely heavily on our research partners like Tourism Economics, Adata, and Future Partners. They give us a lot of insight where we can tailor not only our ads but our content and all our strategies towards that. So research heavily.
Yeah, and the research is interesting too. Something that's kind of been in vogue and ebbed and flowed in terms of usage over time is pre and post panels and also just controlled panels, right? So as attribution is kind of a little bit of a question mark, new solutions are coming out. Has your team, and I guess for Tricia, has your team started with any panels to supplement your first party data to better understand who your audiences are, what they're engaging in, and also maybe even a pre and post against some of your content to show a lift in familiarity or awareness?
We've done some surveying on things where we've done some stuff, in particular with the workforce campaigns that we've been doing a lot of stuff like that because we survey like grads and alumni and families and stuff like that. So we really try to grab some of that content and to just see how they all work together with that. We used to, we kind of backed off of this a little bit more where you are at, Karinna, but we used to, like I said, we used to track like the niches and the things that people were really interested in. And at the time, we didn't find a whole lot of value in some of that. But again, we do look at research a lot in GA4, and we're measuring all of that with our contact and being able to serve those up.
Yeah. And one thing from an agency standpoint I do want to add to this is we offer, we're a research-based advertising agency, so we base all of our marketing off what research tells us. And normally we make it an add-on option for our clients to elect to do. We're actually revisiting that now with the loss of cookies and attribution and everything else that's going on, that we just make it part of our normal marketing cycle to do pre and post and continuous cycles. So we always know what the audiences are thinking, whether our content's engaging, and again, attribution, other than just targeting, attribution's a huge problem as well.
Yeah, in the wake of that as well, Tom, have y'all reconsidered, in the interim as these new solutions are rolled out, in terms of your KPIs, has it shifted in focus of maybe focusing on more quality engagement, more engagement with your content? How have y'all thought about that, and has there been any shifts?
Yeah, I just got my board to finally understand what an impression was, so I really don't want to go back too far to soft metrics, but no, I know what you're saying, and we're just really in the beginning stages of that. But I will say that a couple reasons why I was fortunate to get to Richmond is that we had ARPA money there waiting for me when I got there, and then we got our TID, the first TID in Virginia, so that really multiplied my marketing budget by a lot. But it's part of the reason I say that is part of our awareness campaign we built out with our ARPA money and still running, is that we did brand lift studies with that along the way and collecting really valuable information, both good and bad, that we're now able to use in building out the content, because we're hearing what they're saying about Richmond and what they like to do when they get here, all that data. So we haven't really defined it as well as you're suggesting right now, Tucker, but it's going to be defined in the next couple of months, because I'm going to be making a presentation to our board about cookies. And like I said, impressions were hard for them to understand, but it is our job as marketers, CMOs, and salespeople to educate our board. And they may just blow off most of it, but if they get that question from someone, from one of their stakeholders, what are we doing about cookies? We want to make sure they have at least 3 or 4 bullet points. So.
Definitely. And I know we have a few minutes left. I didn't know if we'd open it up to the audience, see if you had any questions about cookies. Maybe not. And if not, we could wrap as well. But I do think, as a takeaway as well, again, we're in this weird middle ground of some of it being phased out, potentially being phased out by the end of the year. It's a great opportunity to start testing these different things while we have access to third-party cookies, whether that be attribution, whether that be the targeting tactics that you're using, or whether that just be looking at your own organization's page, auditing your usage, and finding different solutions. This year will be really a high priority on that, and the sooner you could start implementing these tests and finding what's working will be really valuable.
I agree with that 100%. It should be on it's on my marketing staff agenda every month. What are we doing? What have we heard? What are other people doing? Karinna, yes, we hear that, and that's going to be part of it. But really, because when I first brought it up to them 6 months ago, they said, do we really have to care about that? Isn't that the digital marketing person's job? Well, we're all digital marketing professionals. But now they're pushing it forward. They're coming up with their own activations so that they can collect first-party data. I mean, we're starting really small there, but now it's top of mind. How can we push that forward? So every month we talk about it, and we'll be sharing things we learned today.
And one thing I want to add, my biggest fear in all this is working with clients that no matter what you say, you can't get them to understand how important this is going to be. And thankfully, Tricia was way ahead on this, but it's other partners in the industry that we're still just continually trying to work with them to start collecting.
You want to go? I'm sorry.
One of the things, too, that we're incorporating, too, to try to gather some of that first-party data is we're not there yet, and I'm sure there's many states that have already done this, but we are going to be having kiosks in our rest areas across the state of North Dakota, and we have a rest area program that we offer, and basically trying to grab that traveler on that first experience if they're stopping at some of those. We're also going to be opening them up in some of our welcome centers. And so we're really hoping, you know, for them to be able to search like what's near me, and being able to gab some of that data if they're interested in more information and stuff like that. So.
And to that, I would add, at Discover Puerto Rico, it's been, yes, cookies are going away now, but it's been ingrained into our strategy since the very beginning to listen to our audience and to listen to what we're gonna cater to them. But now we're also partnering with contextual networks that we can leverage ads with AI. There's new technologies to gather information without us having to rely on that on that third-party data, on those cookies, people opting in and such. So that's also a great opportunity there.
It's amazing. Well, I personally want to thank our panel. They've been amazing. I've enjoyed diving in more. I've worked with them historically, thankfully, and it's always a pleasure, but it's been great to have them and kind of learn a little bit more about how they're thinking about this. So thank you.